I see you. I see.
I bring it down like.
I see you. I see.
I bring it down like.
Lofi Poli Sci, how we doing out there? Low Fidelity Studios out in New Orleans, coming at you people. What's going on in your world today? Right down to business. We got our wild cherry Diet Pepsi, and we got our Grapelicious gum today. We got that feeling. Like it's Women's Month International, my friends. That's right. March is here, and it's time to celebrate the half of the population of the planet that the patriarchy positions as less than equal. And time to shine a light on that inequality so we can do something about it, right? And if you're out there and you're wondering why we say that in 2026 women are discriminated against and suffer global injustices, well, we're about to tell you a few reasons why. So let's get it. All right, let us introduce you to the United Nations Gender Inequality Index, also known as GII. And it looks at the gender gap in countries across the planet. And it creates a global average. And in every single country in the entire world, the United Nations finds gender inequality. Full stop. That means from democracy to autocracy and everything in between, women are discriminated against and have unequal rights in comparison to men. Full stop. Now, how does the United Nations know this? How do they know that gender inequality, how does it work? How does the index work? We see the United Nations measures the maternal mortality ratio in a country, the adolescent birth rate for women ages 15 to 19 in a country, the shared seats of legislatures, men versus women. I mean, how many people are sitting in parliament? They also measure the percent of the population with at least some secondary education for people 25 and older, men versus women, and the percent of the labor force participation rates, women to men, ages 15 and up. Then with this, they use it to create the Gender Inequality Index, which is a value from 0 to 1, so the value is a decimal, and 0 would be gender equality. 0 inequality. There is no country on earth that has a 0. Every country has gender inequality above 0 and going up. All right, and that, my friends, is how the Gender Inequality Index is made. And to do that and collect all the data for all the almost 200 countries in the world, it is such an incredibly time-taking task. It's a monumental task. That's why our data, they're a couple years behind. What does this mean? It means that the most recent data for the United Nations, the UNGII, is 2023. And that's what we're going to give you right now, people. So in 2023, the global averages and numbers for Gender Inequality Index. Firstly, the global score is a 0.455, which is high. Meaning on average across the world, there's a ton of gender inequality that exists amongst the almost 8 billion people that's on planet Earth. The global average maternal mortality ratio is 216.1 deaths per 100,000 live births. The global average adolescent birth rate for women ages 15 to 19 is 39.1 births per 1,000 women. The global average for shared seats in the legislature, meaning out of all the countries and all the legislatures in the world and people who serve in them, representatives, senators, members of parliament, all that. 73.5% of all of them, globally, are men, while only 26.5% are women. The global average for percent of the population with at least some secondary education, ages 25 and older, 70.2% for men, 62% for women. Meaning on average, men have more access to at least some secondary education for people 25 and older. The global average for percent labor force participation rates. 74.1% of men are in the labor force. 48.5% for women. Meaning men are far more likely to have access to the job market. for people who are 15 and older in comparison to women. And that's the numbers, people. That's the facts. Gender inequality exists across the planet. And something that reinforces that reinforces the patriarchy, is the number of women versus men that are head executives in countries, in governments. Meaning presidents, prime ministers, chancellors, the people who run a country. According to the United Nations, in September of 2025, just past 6 months ago or so, there are only 29 countries where only 32 women served as heads of state or government. And at the current rate of that increasing, gender inequality in the highest positions of power will not be reached for another 130 years. And that's if current trends continue and if the patriarchy doesn't keep that from happening. A very big if. But 130 years. And currently, only 6 countries have 50% or more women in parliament. Rwanda, Cuba, Nicaragua, Andorra, Mexico, and the United Arab Emirates. People, there's almost 200 countries in the world, and only 6 have legislatures that have at least 50% female. And listen to these 6 countries again, and you tell me if there's something worth noting about these 6 countries and gender equality in the legislatures there. Cuba, Nicaragua, Rwanda, United Arab Emirates, Mexico, Andorra. I'll give you a silent 10 count, see if you can figure this out real quick. What's up with these countries, right? What's up with them? You know what? No. Instead, I'm not going to tell you. I'll make it a last chance for a bonus point. Send it in by Wednesday, March 4th at 2 p.m. You tell me, what's worth noting about those countries in regard to them having over 50% of the parliament being female, as it relates to gender inequality or gender equality in the country. So what do we have here? What are we talking about, people? Gender inequality exists across the planet. The number of women as leaders of countries is incredibly low, and the number of countries with gender-equal legislature is at 3%. What we have is evidence that we live on a patriarchal planet. Full stop. Next question. How do we change that? Question mark. Women's Month International is a good place to start. We have to educate people about this first. We have to let them know it's a reality. There are many people who do not believe this. They don't know this. They don't know the numbers. But this is the reality. And this is a global reality. The official International Women's Day is this coming Sunday, March 8th. There's going to be lots of things going on across the planet for this. International Women's Day and Women's Month International is the time to acknowledge the problem and to come together for solutions and to celebrate the amazing women in the world. So let's celebrate, people. And let's make the world a better place. Catch us on Instagram and YouTube to write into the show. And don't forget to eat your cereal with a fork and do your homework in the dark. Love you, Lo-Fi. And this, just a snap of what's going on in the world today.
I see.
I bring it down like.
Always remember that Lofi Poli Sci is more than just me. It's the we that we be.